Okay, so this is reading 826 for you, LW. And you asked me, I guess, primarily about relationships, because that seems to be core for you at the moment, but also about your creativity and your ability to fund yourself in the event that there are changes. So let's start here for you. And this is Tyne or Holly, and this is in the position that themes your whole reading. Now this is about obstacles and challenges in your way, but quite often this is about the obstacles that you place in your own way. So it's about self-confidence, it's about motivation, it's about the negative things that you say to yourself that hold you back. It's about that I can't do this because, it's about I don't deserve this and I'm not worthy of that. But it's very much about, well, I can't do X, Y, Z because of A, B, C. So you kind of justify why you can't do things or have things, or you try and find ways to justify. That is very much the theme of this whole reading, is about your approach to yourself. And we'll see a little bit more of that as we go through the reading. Over here, these three are about the last 12 months or so, particularly for you though, the last 3 to 6 months, and it's themed with Alder or Fien, and the elder tree is about advice, about giving and receiving advice. Now, I'm being told by Alder that you tend to be a little bit stubborn on occasions and you don't always take the advice that's given to you. Anyway, part of that is, though, your own creativity. You have such a pictorial soul is the term that comes to mind. What am I trying to say? That for you, you see the world in colour and in pictures. And life is an art form. You are incredibly creative, you are incredibly resourceful, and you see things differently to many, many other people. And so the advice that they give you tends to be the sort of advice that's given to middle of the road people, but you're not a middle of the road person. You are incredibly creative, you are demonstrably so, but you know, you've just kind of been hammered a little bit, particularly in these last few months. This one here is Ash or Newen, and this is about changes that have been imposed on you by other people, by circumstances, by situations that haven't necessarily been within your control, and it's been quite difficult for you because whilst you're quite open to being free and experiencing, you also like to have a degree of control as well, and that seems to have been taken away from you. And underneath it is Sail or Willow, and this is your intuition, this is your creativity, this is your flexibility, this is your magic, you know, this is your soul magic, but it's suffocated. It's being trampled on by the wishes and the desires of other people. So for instance, in this example, this is very much about your inability to express yourself because the demands and the requirements of other people just kind of have suffocated you in the last few months. In the middle here we have Ruis or Elder, and this is in the position of what's happening in your life right now. This is very much about regret, and it's about looking backwards and saying, oh, damn, you know, what could I have done differently? For you, though, you tend to see things slightly differently than that. And whilst regret for you it occurs, because remember, you know, it's about the obstacles that you place in your way, you tend to look at things also from the viewpoint that says, well, how am I going to overcome that, and what am I going to do for the future? So it's not necessarily about being glass half full, but it's about recognizing for you that regret is, you know, it's a bit of a useless emotion. It doesn't serve any purpose necessarily. But for you, you're not quite sure what your purpose is at this point, and so, you know, there's a little bit of turmoil. These are the 4 staves that we really want to concentrate on. These are the next 12 months or so, and they're themed by Lewis or Rowan. Now, the next 12 months, I'm going to talk about each of these individually, and then I'll come back and kind of round it up a little bit. The next 12 months is not looking rosy and full of laughter and full of smiles and absolutely productive. I wish that all of my readings were full of happiness and joy and laughter, but they're not, and life isn't. And, you know, it would be unethical of me to filter out things just to make a reading sound nice. And so for you, the next 12 months is one of turmoil, if you like. And Lewis or Rowan is very much about self-protection. That's about legal protection, it's about physical protection, so it's about making sure that you eat properly and that you exercise properly and that you look after yourself, you balance your own emotional health as well. It's about emotional protection, it's about psychological protection, it's about seeking support that is appropriate to your needs at the time. And you tend to be incredibly resourceful, but really, really independent, and you don't like accepting help. Well, Lewis or Rowan is saying that you can find the balance there between accepting help but remaining independent as well. It's really important that you find a balance between the two. This one here is yew or Idaho, and the yew tree is very much about changes, and you've got changes that have occurred in the last 12 months, but that was because, you know, other people wanted you to do this and you have to do that, and this is the way it will be, so you need to do that. Yew is very much about you taking control again, and about you saying, okay, well, there are going to be some changes, but let me tell you how they're going to be. So do you get the difference there? This is about you making decisions, it's about you taking control, it's about you being motivated enough to see that your life is worthy, that you are worthy, that you are credible, that you are important, and that what you want is equally as important as what other people want. And then sitting underneath that is this one here. And this is Huath or Hawthorn, and this is a one that's a bit of a bane in people's lives. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is about obstacles, and it doesn't necessarily mean that what you want will not happen. It just means that you need to be really resourceful, and we know that you're resourceful, we can see that already. So let me liken that a little bit to, if your goal is over here, and for you your goal is about peace and happiness. It's not necessarily about being in the current relationship that you're in, but it's about being peaceful and being happy and being able to express yourself in a way that's authentic to you. That's your goal. And you're here. But there's a blinking great hawthorn tree stuck in the middle. Okay. Now if you just go the normal route, normal for most people, which is straight towards the goal, you'll be going through a hawthorn tree. And I want you to just think about what a hawthorn tree looks like and know that it is full of thorns. So if you try and go straight towards your goal, you're just going to get ripped to shreds by that tree. So what do you do about that? You find plan B. You find an alternate route. So your goal is here. Instead of going straight for it, you're going to find a different way to reach the goal. Okay, so what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that things won't always go the way you would hope they're going to go in the next 12 months, but you need to be resourceful, and we know that you are, and you need to find alternative ways to do that. You need to find different ways of reaching it. It means that things that you want will take longer to get there, but don't be despondent when it doesn't happen the first time, because it will happen the second or third time. And then finally down here we have gorse or on. This is often about sexuality, it's about expressing yourself, but it's also about living in the now rather than planning for the future. And there's no tree in here called pine or allium, which is about planning for the future. And instead it's all about experiencing who you are and living in the moment. So when we put all of those together for the next 12 months for you, it's unethical for me to tell you to leave or to stay with your current partner. I'm not going to say that. It's utterly immoral for me to do that. But what I will tell you is that you are not living to your authentic self currently. You are not expressing yourself. You're not even being given the opportunity or giving yourself the opportunity to express yourself fully, be that creatively, be that emotionally, psychologically, physically. You're being suppressed. And you need to find the strength to work out whether you do that outside or within this relationship. What I can tell you is in that 18 months time you will be much happier. They're actually telling me 2 years now, sorry. Between 18 months and 2 years time from now you will be much happier, but it will not be in this relationship. It will be in another relationship. Now remember we talked here about with you about you taking control. So I leave you to think about what that means. You were concerned about the resources that you would have at your disposal if changes were to occur. There will be enough money. There will be enough. There will be ways for you to do it. And I'm going to tell you, in the next 12 months, money is going to be damn tight. No two ways about it. Money is going to be really, really tight, and it will be an issue. And you're going to have to find compromises in what you want to do. So you might want to be extraordinarily creative in this area. Well, actually, you need to make a living. So you're going to need to make a living by doing this and being extraordinarily creative in your spare time until you are in a much more stable financial position again. So the next 12 months is one of massive change, but it's about change that you take command of, is about change that you make the decision for. Yes, there is travel, and I see you going to lots of different places, none of which will bring you fulfillment, by the way, but that are just experiences on a continued journey for you. But there will be, you will survive, and there's no way in the next 12 months you're going to be rich, let me tell you that, but you will survive and you will be okay. But it's about compromises, it's about finding the way through with alternate ways to get what it is that you want. I'm hoping that goes some way to answering some of that for you. I also wanted to talk to you about Hare, who is your Druid Animal Oracle card that I drew for you. I love Hare. Hare or Gear, it's very much about intuition and it's about rebirth. So, new phases of life for you coming up, clearly. New ways of seeing the world, new ways of seeing yourself and of freeing yourself so that you can express yourself more creatively in a way that's authentic for you. This is what Hare is all about. Hare is a master shapeshifter. And if you know the story of Taliesin, Hare is one of the first forms that Taliesin takes to escape Caredwin. So he's the symbol of rebirth and of change and of expressing yourself in new ways and beginnings. He also very much represents intuition and a really innate, all of the innate esoteric skills, I guess, for the want of a better phrase, for seeing the better part of yourself. So very much about intuition. He also really encourages you to explore new ways of being. So in other words, you need to think about things from alternative viewpoints. And remember, we talked about with Hawthorne how you got to find things, go alternative routes. Hare is very much about that as well. He's about thinking about things in different ways. The key here is to look at things and to recognise what ways of life are authentic for you and living to those instead of living to the demands of other people. I also just wanted to remind you about your birth, Celtic birth tree, which I think I've already told you about, but I'm just going to remind you again because this is quite important and it's very relevant to you at this point. This is Ingertol, or broom, and broom is very much about sweeping away the old stuff so that you can allow the new stuff to come in. So, you know, we talked here about how you were being suffocated by the pressures of situation. Ingertol says, look, you're not going to allow any new changes to come into your life until you get rid of the old stuff. So the getting rid of the old stuff is sweeping away the people, the situations, the memories, the goals that you thought were servicing you, and allowing them to go their own way so that you can go the way that's more authentic for you. That's what Ingertol or broom is all about. So it's very much a tree of wisdom, but it's also a tree of wisdom as well, because pens used to be made from broom or reed, which is the other form of this particular Ogham. Pens were made from that, and you use pens to write things down. So very much a tree of wisdom. So again, I really encourage you to look at your own inner wisdom, look at your own soul, life's purpose, and shift what you're doing in your life to reflect that a little bit more. So I'm hoping that that makes a little bit of sense for you and allows you to feel in a better place to make decisions for your future.